All right, welcome back to Hollow Knight, episode 11, getting underway. And we're starting off by using our newly found tram pass. It looks like it's reactivated this old tram, which has a bench inside, so taking the opportunity to recharm, standard adventuring set. And then we're going to press the glowing button, Devitron. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so it looks like the tram moved us from Deep Nest in the left part of the map to Ancient Basin in the middle. And here I open kind of the world view, and you can see the dotted line connecting Deep Nest to the Ancient Basin. And then it also extends out to the right. So we're going to go ahead and press the glowing button on the right side of the tram car again. We could have hit the one on the left and gone back to Deep Nest, but again, we wanted to go further right, and it looks like it's put us in Kingdom's Edge. Now, because we haven't been to this part of Kingdom's Edge, it's not mapped out yet, but you can see where our icon is and exactly how this tram line works. Looks like it just moves left to right and back left, and it has 3 stops: Deep Nest, Ancient Basin, and Kingdom's Edge. Okay, so it looks like we found a new area, the Hive. And if you recall, when we were initially in Kingdom's Edge, we had come up the right side of what appeared to be a hive, and there were these small bees buzzing around that were called hivelings. So evidently the entrance to this big hive is just on the other side, and we found it. So let's explore it and see what else we can find in here. Okay, so a new critter there, and one with a particularly nasty stinger. Those are called hive soldiers. Pretty self-explanatory. As long as you avoid their charge with their stinger, then they're not too much trouble. And those lumbering guys there that seem to kind of spit out these little hivelings, what they actually are is a husk that has been infested by hivelings. And they're like a little mini hive, like a walking hive. And those are called husk hives. All right, so a relatively fast whispering root there, not much essence to gather, but I don't know if you saw, our total essence now is 1,657. So we're getting close to that 1,800 mark, which will allow us, if you recall, to enter the White Palace. Okay, so getting in a little bit of trouble, not having enough soul to take down all those bees after me, but real quick notice to the left, it looks like there's an area over there with an entrance from above, and we're not able to get at it from here, so we're going to have to search for that entrance elsewhere. Also, you may have noticed a really giant bee in the mix that I was running from. They get really angry and then just sort of charge into you. And if they miss you and hit some loose honeycomb platforms along the way, well, they'll just knock those right out. Those guys are called Hive Guardians. And coming up, there's going to be a mask shard, which is kind of blocked by some honeycomb wall. And you actually have to use one of those big guys to knock the wall loose in order to get at the mask shard, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, so even captured grubs have found their way into this hive, and a nice platforming move, super dashing across, stopping in mid-flight, and then, double jumping up through that hole. I kind of like that move. It's not hard to do, but I just think it looks cool. And there it was, as promised, baiting in the Hive Guardian to charge and break the honeycomb wall so we can get at the mask fragment. Very fun strategy, and that puts us at 1 of 4 on our current mask, which, by the way, is going to be the last mask for the game. So some interesting commentary from Hive Queen Vespa mentioning that this beehive was not a part of the Pale Being's plan at Hallownest Perpetuation. The Pale Beings most likely being the Pale King and the Dreamers, right? At any rate, a hidden charm down here, Hive Blood. And notice right away it costs 4 notches, so a pretty prohibitively expensive charm. But what does it do? Well, first of all, instead of all your lives being represented by white masks, they change to golden hexagons, like little golden honeycomb hexagons. You have the same amount of lives, but they just are represented with a different icon. Now, second, those lives regenerate over time. You don't need to focus soul and heal them back if you're missing lives. I believe you can focus soul and heal lives back if you want to use your soul in that way, but you don't have to. Now, it doesn't happen very quickly. It takes, quite a while for it to regenerate those lives. But, for example, I'm missing one at this point, and I'm just walking around adventuring. Well, if I had Hive Blood on, I could just use my soul for spells and whatnot and let that missing life be regenerated by the charm. Now, the other thing, if you have Hive Blood equipped, is if you're walking around the hive, all these bee-type enemies, they won't attack you. They're no longer aggressive towards you. If you attack them, they'll retaliate, but they're not going to consider you an enemy, and you can walk around and they'll leave you alone. So all in all, a pretty interesting and somewhat useful charm. However, I just don't feel like it's that cost-effective because of the heavy 4-notch cost. There are so many other charms that cost just 1 or 2 that you could be wearing instead of that, that I think would serve you much better. So it's not one I use, but I've seen several other people using it on YouTube and whatnot, and I think it's fairly popular. So a decent charm, just not one that I choose to use. Okay, so a hidden section of the royal waterways that you have to access from here in order to get at that captured grub. And another thing that we're going to be able to access from here is that one section of the hive that I pointed out, it looked like the entrance was from above. Well, it's coming up right up here. Okay, and with that, we're back to a recognizable section of the Kingdom's Edge. We're going to climb our way up here and eventually make our way to the familiar bench in the King's Station. Okay, back in King Station, we're going to reset our Dream Gate. And I'm going to show you the map once we sit on the bench. Now, I'm not going to do a full-blown map break, maybe later in the episode. But for now, just notice the kind of yellowish parts of Kingdom's Edge down here. You can see it. It's labeled the Hive at the bottom. You can see that's where we were in the Hive and how it connects up with the rest of the Kingdom's Edge. So I think it's easy enough to see. So no map break for now. As for where we're going to go back into the Kingdom's Edge, but we're going to head up top, head upwards. There was an unexplored path up that way, so I decided let's go check it out. All right, so a pretty involved and lengthy whispering route there. But I like the background, I like the background music, and that's kind of a fun one to do. And a decent amount of essence, so it put us over 1700, which means we're rapidly, closing in on our 1800 essence goal.
Minimal. Minimal.
Oh yeah, big time. You know what this means, Devatron. We got an old-fashioned arena on our hands. Oh yeah, couldn't be more perfect. We got Zote the Mighty and Tiso both having made their way to this arena, the Colosseum of Fools, Devatron. So this is very cool, very fun. It's a series of 3 trials. The first one, which we're about to do, is called the Trial of the Warrior. The second is the Trial of the Conqueror. And then last is the Trial of the Fool. Now we're going to go ahead and do the first 2 right away and get their rewards. And then we're going to move on and come back later in our playthrough once we're a little bit stronger to do the final Trial of the Fool. Okay, before we get too much further into this arena trial, I want to say a few things really quickly. And I apologize, I don't like to talk over combat, so I'll try to keep it brief. First of all, there are a lot of new enemies that come at us in these trials, and I'd like to at least tell you their names. And this first trial of the warrior, it's the easiest, the least interesting, and it's also probably my worst take of the 3. So I'd rather talk over this trial than the others. And along those lines, a lot of these enemies that you see in this first trial are going to be in the other trials as well, so better to talk about them here than there. And real quick, these little roly-polies, those are just the balders that we know, except they have armor on, so they're called sharp balders. Now, another good reason to talk over this trial and not the others is that the second and third trials, I did a lot of takes, and I got them not perfect or anything, but they're really well done, and they're fun to watch. This one, in contrast, is pretty sloppy. I mean, I have moments where I do okay, but a lot of it is just pretty bad, frankly. Okay, these armored guys that throw the crescent-shaped blades at you, those are called sturdy fools, and they're not too bad, but it's a good opportunity to use Cyclone Slash, as you see there. You can get a lot of hits on them and take them down pretty quickly. So you're probably wondering, why show you a mediocre take, right? Why not just film this over and over until you get a nice polished take and then present that like I did for the second and third trial? Well, the reason is this arena is considered a new area. And when we stepped in it for the first time at the beginning of this trial, we got the nice, pretty title with the white embroidery and the big font, etc. Well, the thing is, just like new areas in the world, you only get that big, pretty title once, and it's the very first time you enter the area, okay? So I had to make a choice. I could either film this a bunch and give you a nice take that didn't have a nice, pretty title, or I could just give you the pretty title and show you what happened on my very first try. And as vain as it sounds, I chose the latter because I want you to go through this game, and every new area that you see, I want you to have the nice, pretty title. So these guys with the purple helmets and sword and shield, those are called shielded fools, by the way. Now you'll notice, like here, I use Dream Nail a lot in order to replenish soul. I'm going to be doing that constantly throughout all these trials. It's a very important tactic. And because of that, you may have noticed when we set up our charms, I included Dream Wielder. It's the charm that allows us to strike with the Dream Nail much faster, and it also causes more soul to be replenished when we do successfully strike an enemy with the Dream Nail. All right, as scandalous as it seems, Zoth the Mighty lay defeated in the trial of the warrior Devatron. And our reward? A bonus charm notch, so this is pretty big time. Okay, for the next trial, the Trial of the Conqueror, I'm going to basically use the same charm setup and strategy, except this time I'm going to get rid of Grub Song, which will free up 1 charm notch. And then with the bonus charm notch that we just received from completing Trial of the Warrior, that will give us 2 total free charm notches, which will enable us to equip Spell Twister. So we're going to lose a little bit of soul production. Recall Grub Song causes you to produce soul when you take damage, and we won't have that. But with Spell Twister in there, our spells will cost less soul to cast. So in the long run, we'll be casting more spells. So I think this is the stronger setup given how many notches we have to work with. Okay, those guys are called Heavy Fools. And those guys are called Winged Fools. And those guys are called Armored Squids. Okay, these guys are called battle obels. And coming out last, the oblobel. All right, great fight, a lot of fun. Trial of the Conqueror completed, and our reward, some more pale ores. So this is definitely big time, and I dashed a little too far. Let's talk to the fool here. Okay, so you can see there, I went ahead and paid to open the final trial, the Trial of the Fool, but like I said, I'm not going to do it just yet. Instead, I go ahead and gate back, and then we're going to take the stag up to the resting grounds and turn in with the seer. All right, so an arcane egg, which I believe is worth 1,200 geo at the relic collector. And then another mask fragment, putting us at 2 of 4 on the final mask. So that's very cool. As for onward and upward, we're headed to the crossroads, and then we're going to make our way into Crystal Peak from there. And up there is where we'll find the final piece of pale ore. Recall we got one from Nosk, the spider boss in Deep Nest last episode, and then the other one just now from completing the Trial of the Conqueror. So we just need one more, and we can get the final upgrade on our nail from the nailsmith in the City of Tears. Now, come to think of it, I know we haven't been here in a while, but last time we were here, right about this bench, we fought that one boss, the Crystal Guardian. And then, remember what he did? Yeah, he ran away, and he escaped to an area above us that we weren't able to get at. Well, guess who has double jump now, Devatron? We're going after that Crystal Guardian. And bam, just like that, 3 of 4 on the final mask. We're closing in, Devatron. And notice I briefly opened the map just in a sec here. You'll see that there's also a grub in the upper right that needs to be rescued. And that's also in the area where we're headed to. And similar to the Crystal Guardian and where he was hiding, this area requires Monarch wings with double jump. You can cheese it by nail tapping on top of this one husk miner right here. So you can get to this area, see it up here, earlier in the game than this, but it's not a big deal. I don't really feel like I need that last piece of pale ore until now anyway, so this is the way I like to do it. So I didn't finish all the essence for that Whispering Root, but I happen to know that this cave right here is a dead end, so I'll be passing by the Whispering Root on our way back. So I'll just hit it again and figure out where the remaining essence is so that we can finish that Whispering Root on our way back. All right, and here is that grub that I was telling you about that needed to be rescued. And this little bit here, that looks a lot easier than it is. Trying to jump and dash but not hit your head on those spikes above. Pretty tricky. Okay, so just the one that we missed. We got it now, so that Whispering Root's done. It looks like we're at 1707 essence, which is less than we had earlier in the episode. I've talked about this before. It's just a discrepancy between the save slots. But roughly speaking, we're around 1700, and we're getting close to that 1800. And the things that we're going to do to get more essence from this point on, like I think there's one more Dream Warrior, and there's also a couple Dream Bosses, and we haven't done one of those for a long time. In fact, we've only done the one, which was when we did the Broken Vessel, and the Dream Boss version was the Lost Kin way back in the Ancient Basin. So there's actually a couple more Dream Bosses to do, and I believe one more Dream Warrior. And those bosses will yield like 300 or 400 essence when you beat them. So yeah, don't despair. There's plenty more essence to be had, and we're going to pretty easily get to the 1800 mark. In fact, quite a bit beyond that. All right, there you have it. A long trek up the Crystal Peak to reach Hallownest's crown and the final piece of pale ore, but well worth the effort. Let's have a look at the map. All right, so I'm not going to do a map break. I feel like our progress this episode has been pretty easy to follow, but I do want to scroll around the map as I have it open here. I want you to see just how big the world is and how far we've come, but also look for the captive grub symbol. I see one there just below the Dreamer and City of Tears, but that's it. We only have one more grub to rescue, and then we're done with those. So, man, look at this giant world. Can you believe that we've been through all of this? It's pretty incredible, even as I look at it now. So, of course, there are little hallways or little rooms here and there in this area or that we haven't quite gotten to maybe, but as far as all the maps that are available for purchase, we've got them all, and we've been through every area, and we've made a lot of progress. So you should be proud, Devitron. We've come a long way.
Helmadelka. Kacheo, Liasoke. Velmi Ardred. War's son, Gian. Velmi Ardred. Opal. Velmi Ardred. War's son, Gian. Velmi Ardred. Velmi Ardred. Velmi Ardred. Kacheo, Liasoke. Velmi Ardred. Opal. Velmi Ardred. War's son, Gian. Velmi Ardred. Velmi Ardred. Velmi Ardred. War's son, Gian. Velmi Artrit. Kachael Liasoke. Helma Delker.
Okay, so I know it seems like we have just a ton of geo all of a sudden, 14,600. But keep in mind, we're about to go to the nailsmith and get the final nail upgrade, and that's going to cost 4,000 geo. Okay, so then we're going to be left with about 10,000. And then the other really expensive thing that I want to buy, you may recall I told you that there's an NPC that was introduced in the Grimm Troupe DLC who can turn Leg Eater's fragile charms into unbreakable versions of themselves, and I want to do that for the strength charms. So the thing is, that's going to cost 15,000 geo. So after I do this nail upgrade, I'm only going to have 10,000 left. I'm still going to be 5,000 shy. So my point is, we don't actually have that much geo.
Ranjo Stenja. Jonsha. Garadel Akari.
And there it is, Devitron, the pure nail. Nothing better in all of Hallownest. Big time.
Ranjo Stenja.
Man, what is this melodramatic, macabre sob story? I made the perfect nail. I have no more purpose in life but to be struck down by it. I mean, give me a break, dude. This guy needs to just take a vacation, travel a little bit. Maybe we'll catch up with him in another episode, right? Hope you're enjoying Hollow Knight. This was a big episode. The Colosseum of Fools, Devitron. Looking forward to getting back there for the trial of the fool. We'll see you next time.